Hi, my name is Greg Holder, and I'm the lead pastor here at The Crossing in St. Louis. Now, here's something we all know. Christmas is coming, and some of us can't believe just how fast it's coming. Okay, so there's that. Here are a couple of more things that we probably know. There are about as many different ways to celebrate this beautiful and meaningful time of year as there are churches represented in this network. From unplugged and acoustic to big productions, from traditional to anything but that, from quiet to pyrotechnics to everything in between. And yet all the details and plans and songs and light cues and messages coalesce around this one unique life. We know that. Everyone showing up at your churches in the coming days will probably know that. Whatever is planned and eventually pulled off should and will come back to the birth of Jesus. We know that. But here's something that not everyone will notice or even know. They won't know how much of their experience had to do with your hard work. First of all, people have no idea that they are walking in with certain expectations about what's going to happen in your services simply because it's Christmas. And a lot of those expectations find their way back to you and your teams. It's got to look great. It's got to sound great. Everything gets kicked up a notch or 2 or 12 because it's Christmas. It's got to be moving but not cheesy. It's got to be inspiring but not too glitzy. It's got to be Christmassy but not too commercialized. It's got to be over the top without really being over the top. And oh yeah, let's not spend too much money along the way. Are we getting close? Whatever it is for you, lots of this lands on you and your teams, which means probably more than any other time of the year, Christmas ends up being a big old ball of stress for tech directors and their teams. And some of you right now are saying, well, thanks for that, Captain Obvious. Maybe nobody else knew that, but we did. So what's my point? My point is that I'm praying that you'll actually find joy and purpose in the middle of this season. I'm praying that you'll remind each other that you're not crazy for sweating the details and caring this much. I'm praying that others will keep telling you stories to remind you of how all of this fits into the big picture. I'm praying some of that will help you to protect your hearts and your relationships because, and this you know too, the evil one would love nothing more than to get you sideways with others. See, as you go through this season, be careful it doesn't become the technical team and then like everyone else in the church. Be careful that your hard work doesn't lead to keeping score on which team is working the hardest, because that never works. One more time. I already know that you're probably right. You win. That there is no way others are going to fully appreciate the hours you put in after everyone else went home. You're right. People won't be able to put their fingers on why that was such a powerful moment, and they sure won't be able to trace it back to your hard work. You're right. You're going to help others look and sound really, really good. And while we hope God gets all the glory, some of those folks are going to get a little extra thanks from people who will probably never know your name. But that's why I'm in awe of teams like yours. Not just because of the technical genius, but the way your folks really do serve with no strings attached. And listen to me, when that happens, something extraordinarily powerful begins to echo throughout eternity. See, we just finished a gargantuan series this fall entitled The Genius of One, wherein we explored one more time the prayer of Jesus in John 17 for us to be one as He and the Father are one. So Jesus, on the worst night of His life, longs for us, prays for us, expects us to be one in a way the Father and Son are one, so that the world will know that the Father sent Jesus. Which means the way you and I love and serve each other gives the watching world a hint of what kind of love Jesus and the Father share. It's a selfless, sacrificial love that you just don't see anyplace else in the world. Now, I know that's pretty heavy stuff, but that's what Jesus prayed for us. And that's what your teams are about to do. By the grace of God and the Holy Spirit coursing through your lives, the way you celebrate and serve and love and notice and encourage and comfort and champion your team, and then the way other teams do what they do, will remind people how patient God is, how forgiving and encouraging and generous and loving and selfless, yes, and even how fun God is. I'm praying that you will lead your teams and really your churches in something that is so countercultural it could only be of God. Hear me again. There will be precious few who work as hard as you and your teams are going to work in the coming days. But protect your hearts. Protect your relationships, and yes, keep telling those stories and remind each other why you're doing this. May you start the revolution, because I'm telling you, people will notice. And the rest of the world that walks through the doors of your church, they'll notice too. They won't be able to put their finger on it, but the vibe of your place will be exactly what their hearts are longing for. And in that moment, the prayer of Jesus will start coming true. And who knows, maybe, I don't know, maybe, just maybe, the stress of these coming weeks won't seem quite as crushing because of how things are getting pulled off. Maybe there will be a little more celebrating and stories and patience and flexibility and appreciating each other. Maybe we'll notice how this working and loving and serving as one really is sheer genius. Maybe there will be a lot more worship and a lot less, I don't know, you fill in the blank. This is what Jesus prayed for us. And on those days where we see that prayer answered, I know I'm better off, and so are the people working their tails off around me. And honestly, I think we're better off together. So that's my hope and prayer for you. Thanks. Thanks for serving your staff. Thanks for serving your church. Thanks for serving people whose names you won't even know this side of heaven. And most of all, thanks for serving our King. Merry Christmas.